welcome to, well, the Mirroredness Show. I'm Mirroredness, your host. Yes, that intro was a track in progress. It's called Akashic Granularity. I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, let's move on to what I'm actually about here. Yeah, how do you properly trip? Most people will tell you it's all about the set and setting, and yes, that's just the start. But if we really want to know how to really trip greatly, well, ask yourself, how would you do that? It's not just set and setting, that's just part of it. I mean, if I would go into a war zone and drop a lot of LSD, a lot of acid, and a lot of weed, oh boy, I'm in for a shit trip anyhow. If I'm sick as a dog and I drop some acid or some iboga, I mean, you can be totally fine, drop a lot of datura or salvia and go totally bunkers, apeshit, and lose yourself in the process. Well, I would say that's kind of stupid. And people will tell you, yeah, you might lose your damn fucking mind. You may become schizophrenic. You may go kind of psychotic. And to that I say, yeah, if you're prone to that because of your family disposition and you don't have any other genetics that help you, well, yeah, maybe you do not want to screw around with psychedelics and other psychoactive substances, even if they are physically safe for you. Because yes, you can lose your mind. You can get yourself ideologically captured, spiritually captured. Hey, you might even develop all kinds of stupid ideas on your own and ideologically and religiously and spiritually capture yourself. Yeah. So, what is the trick? And you might say, well, there isn't a trick. You cannot just take psychedelics and just be good with it. And to that I would say, look at this. This is about 2 times 40 milligrams of THC edibles, cookies, baked. I will take this now. Eat it. Live on camera. You'll see. And I'll just open it. And gobble wobble it all up. Have some fun with it. Oh my. I'm having some problems. They taste like normal cookies with a bit of that wheat smell taste, and they smell like wheat a bit. Butter cookies. Butter cookies. And why? Because we can. And because we want to show how it's done. And yes, one part of it is stubbornness. Being absolutely stubborn. Another part is searching for truth, reality, objective reality. There goes 80 milligrams. Of course, I have a bit of tolerance. Let's see, I'll just be talking about the course of the next 2-3 hours. I hope it won't get so bad that I have to lie down, that I'll have to stop the stream and lie down and just bake in my bed, but hey, that's something that might happen. So why do I do this? Simple. To show off. To show you how it's done. And it's gone. Now, what do we do? Just concentrate. Mindfulness. Being present at the moment. And thinking. And concentrating on the here and now, the self, the right here. And if there's any, well, weird things that I see, it is what it is. It's part of the trip. Being stubborn is part of the trick. What was the other part? I forgot again. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, what do I do? I mean, I know I've done it a lot of times. Well, of course, if you repeat something often enough, if you do, even if you don't have any talent in it, you become better at it. It's as simple as that. Yes, even with psychedelics, even with tripping, this is true. You might say, but what if you like Terence McKenna and you have this one trip that fucks you up? No. Not one trip that will fuck me up. It already happened a few times. So, tell me. What should I care about? People keep warning me that I should stop doing this stuff because it ain't good for me. Because I might become schizophrenic or have a psychosis, whatever. But the thing is, I've already had several psychoses in the past. So in that sense, maybe that is a bit of an inoculation against some of this stuff. Yeah. But even then, it is what it is. Being stubborn, being concentrating on one thing, yeah, it helps, but it isn't the only thing. The other thing, well, you should be able to already see it, read it. I'll be using my mouse to show you it's about all of this, and especially we perceive sensations. You might think, okay, yeah, you say this we perceive sensations, but what do you mean with that? Well, Ask yourself, what does we perceive sensations mean in the context of consciousness? Oh yeah, I'm conscious. Yeah, but more. Each thing is itself, and we perceive sensations. We perceive sensations. And the thing is, I can even say we perceive sensations even if no other living being is alive. For if I say we in that sense, I mean we in here, as in a multiplicity. There's a reason why I call myself myriadness, because there's a myriad of consciousnesses inside of this body. A lot of little consciousnesses interconnected. I treat anything that I notice, sense, observe, that I'm aware of as a little bit of consciousness that I observe at that time, and that quickly fades away again. It's only there for a short time. You might say, "What? Okay, this is kind of different from what we normally hear from all kinds of gurus, spiritualists, great teachers, deep teachers, Alan Watts. What's his name again? Yeah, Terence McKenna, yeah. But I'm thinking about his younger brother who's still alive. He is really a great resource, so to speak. But yeah, Terence McKenna, but he was less of a spiritualist than you would think, I will say. And he was a bit more cookie in the head than you would, than most people will, many people will agree. He was fucking cooked in the head. No. Yeah. Non-dualism, you might say. Why doesn't this guy tell anything about non-dualism other than attacking it, shredding it, and saying, yeah, it's kind of not really true. It seems like it's true, but it isn't. And that seeming to be true makes people believe it's true, but it isn't. It's only conditionally true with regards to, well, having consciousness expansion, having a kind of different state of mind. Now I go to my... Yeah, I will show you what's here, not here. Did I even... links. This one. Consciousness may come from sensation, not thought, study finds. I found this, well, a few weeks ago. And the thing is that if you read through this, just read this. I'll try to remember what I read. But this integrated information theory, it says that each neuron or each there's a certain kind of minimum amount of unit that is in need of complexity with regards to neurons that's needed in order to have a self-referential system that knows that it is itself, that it is actually conscious, and it has a certain kind of, well, how do I put this? A certain kind of qualia that it represents, that it knows that it itself is. Like, I'm blue, I'm purple, I'm dark gray, I'm even darker gray, I'm kind of nearly bright red. I'm all these colors, I'm the sound, all of that. So that's the individual granular particulates of consciousness, many consciousnesses. Let's say integration and global neural workspace theory is the whole broadcasting of this information. And the thing is, when I trip, I experience both. When you normally are just alive and just conscious, you experience the qualia, the blueness of blue, the brightness of that blue, the specific sounds, the timbre, the volume, the frequency heights, the length of the sounds, and with regards to what you feel, sense, whatever. So, my theory, my own theory, has always said, since I've figured this out about more than 1.5 years ago, at the end of May of 2025. So you could say, well, you saw that then, and then you... No, I didn't saw that. I mean, hey, you can... if you don't believe me, you don't believe me. It's as simple as that. But yeah, I only found out about this a few weeks ago. But with my theory or hypothesis, my postulates is that whatever you sense is already consciousness itself. It's already interpretive, self-interpretive, and each little sensing, each little noticing, or whatever you notice, sense, feel, whatever, are aware of, is a little bit of consciousness. All of what you see, feel, and hear. But not only that, all what you think, all what you feel, all what you're aware of, all of it. Concepts, intuitions, instincts, even movements are, technically speaking, in my opinion, consciousness. Even more, a lot of what you think is just a little bit of consciousness in a feeling are, in my opinion, consciousness aggregates, consciousness communities working together as one. Somehow, multifaceted, flowing into each other. I mean, that's weird. A word is only a sound for a certain amount of time. But you know that the sound itself changes in pitch, in timbre, in loudness. There's a lot of expression, of emotions, of what you feel going on. Even in what I just gibberished around now, right now, you can feel what I'm gibberishing. You can feel the difference between the different things that I. If you go into it and really, really listen, feel, and hear and see, even in the gibberish, there's something that you sense going on, feelings, emotions, logic even. And even in that sense, the logic that you apply also has a kind of feeling attached to it. I've told you many times that's how I view things. That hasn't changed. It has only become much more strong how I experience that. Yeah, and I'm slowly getting to the point that I'm feeling what I've consumed about 18 minutes ago, 17. But yeah, it's just the waiting time until it finally really kicks in and I feel it going on. Oh yeah, I'm feeling it a bit now. But that's the thing. You can just take this and see for yourself. And now here comes the trick. My trick with regards to utilizing 1-PLZ, shrooms, magic truffles, 4-HO-MET, THC edibles, whatever. Or even just walking around and experiencing certain weird things. Certain, hey, I'm really here, I'm really feeling the 3D-ness of things. But yeah. The trick is knowing that anything that I perceive is part of that consciousness collective of consciousness collectives of consciousness collectives of essentially consciousness granulates, consciousness atoms in space and time. Quantum qualia, so to speak, qualia quanta. And then being stubborn in that. That's the only trick. And then just training that. That's it. Those are the 3 key ingredients. I've devised some, well, the stubbornness is something, yeah, either you have that or you don't. Repeating tripping. Well, not everyone will tell you. No, people will tell you, don't do it too often. Well, I agree and I disagree. It depends. And the third one, knowing the right kind of understanding what you are, how you actually operate within your own body, and that you yourself, the self, is just a part of a consciousness community, of consciousness communities, of consciousness communities, of qualia quanta, which are consciousness granules, so to speak. That's it. There's your trick. That's my trick. You can utilize it if you want to. No problem. No money asked. No questions asked. Only warning, if you or if your family somehow has a history of mental illness and you haven't really had deep, nasty, deep dives within yourself, haven't worked through psychotic episodes, psychoses, breaking yourself onto the jagged edges of reality itself and piece yourself together often enough. Oh boy, I won't. Oh boy, oh boy, I will advise you not to do this. Why? Because you're putting yourself into danger. This is not like, oh, you must. No. You're putting yourself into danger if you don't know what you're doing. I'm just really lucky. I've won the lottery with regards to being stubborn and having worked through psychosis. And I'm not going to go schizo just because this is the optim's time. No. Because we know who we are. Because that's the thing. That's the fourth ingredient. You have to have some intimacy with the rest of the consciousness communities which make up the higher self, or better to say, the higher selves. For we are ourselves in our body. And that's what we mean. That's what I mean. And yes, this is coming from someone who doesn't believe in a God, who hasn't felt a God, who hasn't felt the infinities. I've tried many times, so many times, that I just think either I'm doing really something wrong or I'm doing something really right. Up to you to judge me with regards to that, to judge us in our body. And yes, we've seen what you would call the Akashic Records, our own version of what people would call the Akashic Records. There's a reason why that track that we put on the first, on the intro, Akashic Granularity, is called Akashic Granularity. Because it references the Akashic Records, the whole spiel of what you see, feel, and hear. Well, tripping your balls out. Seeing all kinds of things change in front of your eyes, in front of your imagination, as your imagination. And being able to follow what you see, being able to understand the change that happens, the change from one form into another while you feel the meaning and interpretation and the feelings changing, also according to what you hear and see, and it all influencing each other and changing each other. And in that sense, you have an ever-changing imaginary landscape of all kinds of things. But it's all limited. It feels so much. It feels overwhelming. It feels like you're experiencing the entire universe, but you don't. It's just so much that most people, I think, cannot handle it, cannot process it, cannot follow how it feels, cannot follow the logic of the feelings and the feeling of the logics. Because that's the thing, what it's all about. And I'm feeling it a bit now. I'm just a little bit high. Nothing else. But I'll tell you once I really get into seeing some disturbances in my vision. It's a bit already, but not that much yet. Yeah, that's it. Wait and see. Don't be too crazy, don't be too stupid, just wait. The thing is that we are pursuers of truth, of things that are actually true, objective reality. We believe that there is an objective reality. The thing is that, especially when we trip, but also in normal times, we can sense that all what we experience has a certain kind of self-referential tag to it. Like this point here tells me, oh, I'm the point here, I'm this point. Of course, it doesn't really say anything about where it is, but it's in relation to all the other points that are saying, I'm here. Or to every sound that I hear, I'm this sound, I'm this, I'm that. But that's the thing. When you think, when you feel, when you hear, when you observe, when you are aware, you feel all of that. You can feel awareness itself. Everything that you feel is conscious. Everything that you notice is conscious. Everything that you sense is conscious. It's your consciousness. It's part of that. What other people would call the godly self, the divine self, the higher self, I would say it's just the other selves of us in our body. Anything that we sense is a part of us. It's as simple as that. And we are kind of really convinced that it's all brain and nervous system. And if there's anything else that's necessary besides what we would call the material world, then it's also part of objective reality. And it may seem supernatural, but it's just another part of what we would call material reality. But what about rebirth and near-death experiences? What about people experiencing God? What about people who came back from the dead and tell us all kinds of things? What about people remembering things from the past or knowing that they have a previous life? I would say, I don't know. I used to totally dismiss it, but yeah, currently, I don't know. But the thing is, instead of just saying, oh no, I don't really want to believe that, I want to make sure that a claim of that kind is an actual real claim, because then we can investigate further and try to understand how this works in order to find out what is actually necessary for us to do before we die, while we still live, in order to maximize a better future for the rest of humanity, here and then, here and there. I want to make sure that some claim is actually really true instead of just bogus. Because I want to know for sure whether it's true or not, and if it's true, how it works. Because that's how we work. We want to know for sure. And you might think, oh, you are a materialist, but you are still open to supernatural things. I'm not open to supernatural things. I'm open to things that seem supernatural, but which I deem to be natural. Because if they actually really happen, they must be a part of objective reality. No different vantage point, just a different part of objective reality. A different part of, well, reality. The material universe that we know is also just a part of objective reality. And all these supposed wave fields, we don't know whether that's actually really true, wave fields or not. It's only just a handy mathematical description with predictive capabilities. And yeah, that's my problem with a lot of this stuff about, oh, people came back from the dead and talk about God. Yeah, that's nice, etc. But can we test that? And it's always listen and believe. I don't know. No. Look and test and find out how things really are. For the things that I found out is the things that are the realest are the most elusive. And if there's anything that's really beneath it all, then I don't know whether we are going to be able to figure that one out. Because we are part of objective reality. Not absolute, but objective reality. We are part of all of this system. We are integrated into all of this. We are parts of the universe able to observe themselves. That's consciousness. And yeah, I'm actually really having a bit of a fun time now. Oh my God. Don't mind me. I'm just enjoying myself here. Oh yeah. Don't mind the Discord. I mean, it's just Discord. Quit it and get rid of it. No. Consciousness, I would say, yeah. And the global new world sees consciousness as a stage spotlight. When information is deemed relevant, the brain broadcasts widely across a network of neurons, especially in the prefrontal cortex. And I'll tell you, there's your non-dual experience. That's non-dual experience. The whole broadcasting of stuff. That's where synesthesia happens. That's when You feel at one with what you see, feel, and hear. This whole broadcasting stuff happens then. And the whole jitteriness, the whole granularity of what you see, feel, and hear, that's information, integrated information theory. That's where your phi lies, your qualia. And those are kind of really small. I don't know, maybe a few neurons, maybe up to 100 neurons at most. Not more than 100. I mean, that would be a bit too large. But maybe a few dozens. I don't know. But it's always self-referential because I feel it. I feel all the colors, the intensity of the light itself. And here's one thing. Why does black or dark colors really feel like something? Ask yourself that. If you want to know whether what I'm saying is true, just look into a really dark space and ask yourself, what am I seeing and how does it feel? Look at the darkness and see and feel and figure out, why does this happen? So, and you might think, but that means that you are, yes, I am not a non-dualist, I am anti-Advaita Vedanta. I'm also against the whole stuff of, well, it depends, the dependent origination with regards to consciousness. When Buddhism describes it as empty, I do agree with that. Because technically, all consciousness is just, in my eyes, in our eyes here, sensings being stuck along time and space, having such a density in time and space that it can bridge along. There's a percolation through space and time, and that percolation makes consciousness communities that we are. So, while part of those consciousnesses fade away, others come back, and it's a dynamic system. And here's where Buddha was totally right. Here's where part of Buddhistic teachings with regards to, well, the emptiness of the self, of consciousness, of awareness itself is just really true. But instead of going totally non-dual like a lot of people will do, I just say no. I'm not totally sure about it, but there's a good chance that Siddhartha Gautama, if he would live today, might come to the same conclusions as I do. Maybe even Nagarjuna. The other really great Buddhist that has impacted a lot. Maybe even Dogen, if I'm not mistaken. Dogen, let's see. Dogen. Is it Dogen or? Dogen Zenji. And that's the thing. I even. Oh, this is not a boast. This is not even a product placement. But I didn't really understand. Oh, what's his name again? Let's see.
So the sub.
See this one? See this? Woke Buddhism must go. Of course it does. I do agree with that one. You can't have woke Buddhism. I agree with that one. See this one? Hardcore Zen strikes again. It's not that I first bought this book and then I found this channel. It's more like I found this channel. But did I seek out any of his books? Nope. I went into a local spirituality shop here in Groningen. I found this one. I thought, I think I recognize this guy. And the thing is, if I'm not well, I don't care. It doesn't really matter. The thing is, I thought, I think that's him. Not totally sure. And then I saw even another book where his face was on, and I thought, oh, I think, yeah. And somehow I wanted this one. I bought it. It was about 1895 CC. And yeah, it's a really good read. I haven't finished it yet because look at this. It's my bookmark. And yeah. I could say, yeah, it's a long video now. I'm going to close it because I've talked about my topic. No, because the topic now is what I'm experiencing now. Yeah, there's a good chance that I might, that because of tolerance, so tolerant, I might just not have a trip. Not enough of a trip. I'm just going to be kind of kite high and that's it. If that's so be it. But yeah, would I call myself a Zen Buddhist? No, but I've read some stuff there. I would say, oh boy, that really comes close to Brad actually figuring things out like I did, but as far as I know, he didn't yet. But yeah, I have a bit of a different take on things, and it's not that I dismiss Brad Warner from Hardcore Zen or other people. I mean, if you really want to push, for instance, enlightenment, don't come to me. If you want to find enlightenment, well, you can come to me, but I'll tell you, you have to first go get yourself awakened fully, and then you can figure out enlightenment for yourself. But if you say, oh no, I don't know how to do that, I just want enlightenment, well, don't come to me. I'm not going to give you enlightenment. I will give you awakening if you can handle it. Or better to say, you can figure it out for yourself using my methods. Or discovering your own methods, figuring out your own methods. That's how you can do that. To fully awaken. And I don't mean to, or I'm just part of the infinite, or everything is one, or everything is empty. No, you are going to awaken to we are of our body. We are the sensings, the noticings. We are the sensations of our body perceiving themselves. That's what it's all about with us. That's the true awakening that we give you. Awakening to the higher selves. The eye of the pyramid, of the enlightenment pyramid, figuring out, oh my, the whole pyramid is full of eyes. Oh, I am full of eyes. I am eyes. We are eyes. We are the eyes. And the big eyes shouting that we are the eyes of this pyramid. Because each eye itself, each brick is an eye, a little eye inside of the big bad pyramid. Yeah. Am I finally seeing some stuff? No, not yet. I think I've stretched my luck out thin and far. But it is what it is. Yeah, no problem. Just chill. So, I think if you're watching this, even in retrospect, you have figured out what this channel is about. It's not about enlightenment. It's about awakening, true awakening, and then going above and beyond what Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta have to offer. That's it. That's what this channel is about self-liberation, about not just true awakening, but also self-liberation. Pulling yourself away from any ideological capture as much as possible and giving yourself the tools to figure that out. Of course, in this day and age, everyone, including me, is somehow ideologically captured. Did make photos. Maybe that would have been a bit better. To make some photos. Yeah. I was at a protest. Yeah. This is what happens if you have the light a bit too bright. But yeah, I was in the center of Groningen, and today there was some kind of queer, trans, whatever protest, and even Antifa going on, and I don't even know what they were on about, other than some stuff about people being corrupt or whatever. I don't know. But I'll tell you this: the whole woke crowd, the whole left wokeist, progressivist crowd, the whole Antifa, the whole gender ideology stuff, this whole neo-Marxism stuff. It's all ideological capture. These people, they think they are protesting against those who have power, but they are protesting against those who are given enough power to matter, to have enough influence, by those who currently actually have the power, the establishment itself. But these people don't understand that. They think they are fighting against actual real enemies. To some extent they do have a point, but that's the thing. They have a point, and then they're allowed to just keep on pushing it into the extreme. Even saying that if you disagree with them, even if you keep quiet and you don't help them, some of them will tell you, oh yeah, then you're violent against them, or you are an enemy of them, and hey, they may strike you down for not helping them, not assisting them. It's like Rocco's Basilisk, but then the human version. Hey, I didn't know that you would come, but you should have aided in my coming. Now I punish you for you not aiding me to come into existence. Yeah, Rocco's Basilisk is a kind of horror scenario where super AI, a super general artificial general intelligence, resurrects people or captures people that didn't help it come into existence, and then tortures them as long as possible for not helping it come into existence. But not enough about Rocco's Basilisk. But these people are a bit like that. They blame you for not helping them in their struggles of life. And they think they are being oppressed. They think that people, for instance, going into a country where they were not born, where they did not live, and then just getting some work, doing no paperwork, no nothing, and doing all kinds of crimes is totally okay, it's all right, and you should actually be for that. And if the people of the land ask a certain force to get rid of those criminals that shouldn't be there in that, well, country, well, that's really, 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 really bad. Oh no! How could you get rid of the criminals that are raping, plundering, murdering, breaking the law, while they already broke the law by entering without having permission to enter? And we call that illegal immigration. Yeah, I'm talking about ICE, what's happening in the United States. Something that also should happen here in the Netherlands, in Germany, in the United Kingdom, remigration of people who shouldn't be here. And if people think, oh, you're that Nazi, but that's the thing. If I would go to the Congo, or would go to Japan, or I would go to India, and I would enter there without having permission to enter. I just would try to live there, and I would rape, pillage, murder, rob, steal, whatever. Nobody would bat an eye if I got roughed up by the locals, got killed by the locals, got roughed up by the police, got killed by the police, put into a really dark prison cell to rot away for years and years, maybe the rest of my life. Or maybe I would be captured, put in prison, and then after I served my sentence, kicked out of the country to where I came from, paid as much as possible by my own funds, and to never ever have the permission to come back. And the thing is, that's totally okay with me. If you go to another country, you should obey the laws, because those laws are there to protect the citizens from each other and from the government and from outsiders. In that sense, I'm totally pro the whole stance that the Sentinel Island inhabitants have, the Sentinelese, that screw the outsiders and let them go home. Don't come to us. And I'm totally pro the Sentinelese with regards to that. If people say, oh, but they are technically, they look really like black people and like Africans, you should. I don't care about that. I don't care about people in Africa doing their own stuff. What I care about is not having millions and millions of Africans here in Western Europe that don't belong here. And also all kinds of other people from Northern Africa, Middle East, Eastern Europe, Russia, Ukraine, even Germany, even Belgium, France. I don't mind some immigration or some migration, but this whole forced immigration stuff that's happening here in Europe, Canada, United States, Australia, even Japan. It's diabolical. It's evil. It's genocidal. This is genocide against us. Today I even saw a video that really infuriated me. That in German cities, big German cities, that the biggest amounts of young people in those cities are majority non-indigenous Germans. No, those are non-indigenous non-Germans, being the majority of people being born. And that is a crime against humanity. It is genocide. If our native populations here in Europe are being replaced by foreigners, that's genocide. And I stand against genocide. We stand against genocide. And yes, I do believe in remigration. These people need to go back. They don't belong here. But they have family and friends, but it doesn't matter. The thing is that currently, us here in our countries are quite lenient towards these people. But understand this, once they get control, most likely, based upon what happens all over the world, if they get control, they will vanquish us. They will treat us like we are nothing, less than nothing. That's the problem. It's an unequal fight with regards to that. With a government, with an establishment, the media, the government, the bureaucratic apparatus being pro this whole genocide, being pro the whole big companies, being the whole big totalitarian control apparatus, because that's what we're facing here in our own countries. You might say, but aren't you ideologically captured? Isn't that your ideological capture? And I could say, to some extent, yes. But it's not like I've come to this just because someone told me so. If I would see with my own eyes how the Netherlands has changed, how things have gotten really bad here, it's not as bad as it could be, luckily. But it doesn't mean just because it's not as bad as it could be that things are totally okay. The thing is that I was born in the system. I was part of the system. I believed the lies about, oh, diversity is so good. I mean, my biggest resistance against it was in the beginning because I was a Christian. Actually, it's more like I saw inconsistencies with the whole stuff with regards to 9/11. Still not totally sure about what really happened, what really went off there, but it did open my eyes. It made me kind of really skeptical about a lot of claims. I mean, that's the thing. Like many of us, we were promised a world that would be kind of really nicer, kinder, better, more forgiving. And in some ways, a lot of us are. But then again, there are those who are not. There are those who abuse others and get away with it. There are those who do really nasty stuff and never ever face the consequences. And you might say there's karma, there's reincarnation. I don't believe in that. But there's so much evidence. I don't believe that. I will believe it when I cannot. When there's uncontroversial evidence in my eyes. Not just some claims of, oh yeah, someone this, and I can't explain it. I mean, there's always some kind of explanation possible. That's the thing. But how plausible is it? Is there reincarnation? I don't know. I don't think so. And I think it's prudent and wise to act like there is no tomorrow, like there is no life, after death. And to think, yeah, what about the coming generations? How will we actually really, how do we care for them in their future? Because we don't do that enough. Oh yeah, but we have to do something about global warming. Yeah, that's good, but global warming, in my eyes, while it's an issue, it may not be the biggest issue. Especially here in the West, I would say that a bigger issue is our replacement. The replacement of the indigenous people of Europe, of the native people of Europe, the indigenous Europeans, the Germanic people, the Gaelic people, and the Iberians, and other peoples. Yeah. I mean, There's a lot of talk about this whole stuff about the genocide on the Palestinian people, but I don't see Israeli soldiers going into Palestine and just stationing themselves there, and then getting their wives there, and then really taking everything over in the Gaza Strip, and then, well, making life so difficult that Gazan people barely can procreate, and that, well, the Israeli soldiers try to get it with the Palestinian women and just raping them. I mean, there are some atrocities, sure, but it's not like 5, 10, maybe 15, maybe 20% of the Gazan populace is of Israeli origin. No, it's there. And even in the whole offensive that happened, or is still happening, per capita there's less deaths than what happens in South Sudan. And for instance, what happened to what's going on, for instance, in Iran? Oh, nobody gives a fuck. Barely anybody gives a fuck when it comes to that. The establishment barely recognizes that one. So ask yourself, are you also ideologically captured? And you might say, yeah, but you are also ideologically captured. Yes, I am still. It's really difficult not to be ideologically captured in some way. To have a kind of framework how you view the world. So in that sense, you could say, yes, anyone is ideologically captured by many ideologies. Some have a composite ideology made out of many other ideologies for themselves that they follow, that they believe in without testing it. Ideologies are just axiomas of how the world should work, not meant to describe but to prescribe how the world should work. Huh. Maybe we should drop some of that stuff, because hey, the world should work like this. No. When it comes to yourself, it's good to be ideological, like, hey, or to try to strive towards an ideal, like, hey, I should do better. I should not hold my phone like this, but like this. If I sit, don't sit like, oh. But sit a bit straighter up. Don't slumber. Son. So, if you are in any way idealistic and ideological, be it toward yourself more than towards others. Because if you try to do that towards others, you try to control others. Which means you will try to limit their freedoms where you think what you believe is more important than than their freedoms, their rights. That your will is more important than their rights. Oh, but what if you say, what if they are trampling on your rights? What do you mean? Yeah, he has painted his room red, and I don't want to see red. So if I visit him and he leads me to that room, oh no, his whole house, all the rooms in his house are red, and I hate red. He shouldn't paint them red. He should have painted them blue. Yeah, that's the thing. You can ask someone to not paint their rooms red, but if they say, I want to paint my rooms red, they can. I think I'm getting a bit more of a handle of how ideologies, totalitarianism, control, etc. works. A bit of a deeper, just a little bit deeper insight. Yeah, I'm not really seeing it. Yeah, I'm just going to be a kind of really kite high, and that's it. No problem. But yeah, it is what it is. So, but if you do not want these people, well, but now coming back to all of that, but what about the people who are here, who've been born here? Depends, of course. If I mean, if you believe that you are really part of the Dutch people, how about you love the Dutch people then? I mean, if you are of non-Dutch origin and you call us cancer Jesus, a literal translation of kankerkazen, which some use, mostly of Moroccan background tend to use. But yeah, if you call me a cancer cheese because I say something that you don't like, I think you shouldn't be here in the Netherlands. And you are not Dutch, and you should just fuck off. Go back to the country of origin of your forebears. I really mean that. I mean, if you call the native inhabitants cancer cheeses or mayonnaises or whatever derogatory term you can utilize for white Europeans, well, you don't belong here. Go away. Go back to your ancestors' playing fields. And that's me being a bit polite still. That's us being polite. Because I can be far, far, far from polite. But there's no reason for me to be less polite, because I'm not that polite currently, but I'm not trying to be abrasive. I just don't give a fuck anymore. Because, yeah, in the end, it won't take that long. It won't take 10, 20, 30 years before shit really goes down. We are already seeing the start of not just civil unrests, but also, yeah, you could call them civil wars, but it's more like wars in order to fight back against the invasions, the invaders, and the traitors. Because, let me say this, everyone who wants us gone in our countries and is one of us in our own countries is a traitor. I mean, just a bit of, oh yeah, traitor as and you're selling us out to the Russians, or you're selling us out to Google or whatever, because that also happens. More like you're selling us out to be murdered, and that's deep treachery. Trust me on this. If it comes to, I'm feeling it a bit now, when it comes to that. You want me dead just because because I am of indigenous origin, and I disagree with you, and you are of the same indigenous breed. It means you want me murdered, you want me dead, and that makes you a traitor. It's best then, if you know me, to just let the contact die and never contact me again unless you want to change your mind and tell me that in my face. I mean, talking to me and trying to have a kind of cordial talk, no problem with that. But if you want to whine against me or get nasty with me for no good reason, don't. Just break off the contact and maybe we'll see each other on the battlefield. I hope not. But yeah, that's that. I mean, yeah. It should make you clear where I stand and why I stand there, and that I have no qualms with being seen as evil while I know that I'm not evil. Because I do care about the future of humanity. I mean, have you ever heard me say anything about doing anything to any other peoples in their own home countries? Their own home spots, their own areas where their ancestors lived? No, you don't. I think that's best for everyone. For most of the peoples of Earth, of humanity, to live where their ancestors have lived. So we preserve that kind of ethnic diversity, because what we are also getting now is also a mixture, but also getting rid of certain populaces and thus decreasing overall planet-wide human diversity. Diversity of peoples, diversity of cultures, diversity of arts, diversity of rulings, of thoughts, of ideologies, of philosophies. But ours must go because because we are so evil. Come on, don't kid yourself. No, I will not let myself be dominated like that. Ooh. Yeah, but I'm really slowly starting to feel it 90 minutes in, so it's not that deep. And that's okay. Maybe it's because I'm streaming as well. Am I really sure it's... Okay. Oh. Oh no. It's 80 minutes only ago. Oh god. Yeah. Yeah, that tends to happen. That I incorrectly observe the time. The clock. But am I really feeling it now? Yeah, well, I was ranting a bit. I felt it more than I feel it now. But it is what it is. The thing is, if you think, oh yeah, you feel frustrated, yes, each and every day. How did you notice? Yeah. There's a lot in life that is really frustrating for me. People doing all kinds of dumb stuff while they walk and bike around. It's also me being kind of really autistic and at times just not wanting to shove over. Well, it might be a bit more handy for everyone for me to shove over. But that's not always. There's these times when I just rightfully just walk somewhere and people just don't want to give me the space or time to be where I am. I just think, yeah, no, you just get out of the way. I look at them in the eyes and they veer off most of the times. Yeah. Oh, I'm feeling it a bit more now. Oh, really now? But how can I maintain such a composure while still living what you would call a not totally enlightened life? Because in my eyes, enlightenment and awakening are two different things. Enlightenment is with regards to how you should treat others, how you should live life and treat others. The awakening is about how you view yourself. And while those things are linked, how you should treat yourself and others, how you should live life, but how you view yourself is different from that. Because in my eyes, if you have the right view of yourself, you can figure out how to treat yourself and others, how to live life. True awakening will lead to true enlightenment, eventually, hopefully. But it's not automatic. It's still effort. It takes effort to figure things out. Not everyone can achieve that. Some people just need guidance. Well, and now is a point where you wouldn't expect me to say, for certain people, having an ideology, having a religion, having a belief is precisely what they need in life in order to live life fully, because they cannot achieve it on their own. Because the bell curve with regards to IQ and other mental capabilities is a thing. Or better to say, the bell curves, in order to anger some people. You know what I mean, and you hate it. And some others will say, yeah, that's right, yeah, that's really true. Because, I mean, yeah, just look at other animals, because as humans, we are animals. We are of the species human. Homo sapiens sapiens. Look at chimpanzees. Well, I don't think there's a chimpanzee who will be able to do quantum mechanics. Or gorilla. Or an orangutan. Or a bonobo. And then someone could say, but is maybe there could be one. But we won't find the chimpanzee, most likely. An anomaly, that maybe. And yes, awakening and enlightenment are also dependent on that. And you may say, but we don't know everything, but there are certain good indicators that chimpanzees won't be able to do the stuff that we do with regards to this deep understanding. Maybe they do, I don't know. The thing is, we aren't able to do it ourselves. And that's the thing. And even among ourselves, there are a lot of people who, well, have mystical experiences, non-dual experiences, mystical non-dual experiences, and then they say, oh wow, that was a wild ride, and they leave it at that. They find it special, they find it really exciting, but I don't really give a fuck. It was just a little bit of awesome, and then, yeah, whatever. And takes so long, and you have all of this body load. Yeah. And look at Goblin. The YouTuber Goblin. I mean, he took psychedelics for fun, not for deep insights. He didn't want deep insights. Most people just don't want deep insights because it gives people a burden, a deep burden. And then there are those people who get mystical experiences and they also turn non-dual. And then all is one, all is God, God is all, etc. You know, the whole Advaita Vedanta non-dualism stuff. Yeah. And yes, I am talking about that like it's just a phase. It's something, a limited point of view. And then you can go even more granular. You really take notice of stuff. You really compare meticulously, you know, about infinities in mathematics, seeming infinities seemingly in physics, theories, formulas, and then renormalization. You know about that actual real infinities would be just impossible for us to observe. It would be an overload of the system. Actually, seeing infinite light would mean, yeah, our eyes would not, our eyes, brains, whatever, would just fry instantly, would be vaporized. Oh, I'm really feeling it now. But yeah. And then, yeah, you might fractalize, you might see all the shapes changing. You may feel transformations. You may feel like it's algorithms transforming stuff. Well, yeah, well, we still are not sure about whether we actually feel the algorithms or like it feels that we think that it feels like those are algorithmic transformations of sound, feeling, color, shapes, emotions, logics, deep intuitions, the searching itself, longing to experience, and being aware of being aware itself. Like it's all looped. Like one can voluntarily loop it somehow. Like one is entranced by a different kind of consciousness being sensed in what one sees, beyond what one sees in the imagination, the deep imagination, the deep subconscious and unconscious. Oh yeah, and it's kicking in. Yep. Yeah, maybe some of the stuff that I've said wasn't that great as an advertisement for my channel, but it's time to really show my colors. It's part love, part hate, but mostly not giving many fucks anymore. I mean, just because I disagree with people doesn't mean that I want to bash their heads in. Nope. I would only do that to people where I'm kind of sure that they're about to attack me. And yes, people tend to give really clear signals that they want to attack you somehow. Or at least subtle and clear. Subtle but clear signals that they're really dangerous and nasty, versus, well, loud, obvious, but not as dangerous, and more like a really loud, high-pitched barking chihuahua in human shape. Yeah, I would just only want to whack those on the head for being loud, noisy, and annoying. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm feeling it right now. And I'm fine with that. Let's see. But yeah, which countries people, other than ours here in Europe and other Western countries, would want to let themselves replace just because of the past and present supposed evils that they are doing. Yeah, I don't believe that. That's really different doing it like this and experiencing it like that. But maybe it's because it's not as powerful. Maybe it's because, yeah, tolerance. I don't know. Yeah. Well, this feeling of importance, I've had it in other previous THC edible trips. Yeah, actually having access to that feeling of everything that you see, feel, and hear at that moment is being the most important thing in the world. I understand why people, if they're not prepared in any way, get ripped away by that kind of feeling, get totally stuck in that. Like you're chosen by God Himself, by the universe, by everything. That everything is conscious and chooses you. That's how it feels like. You're the most important thing. Everything is the most important thing. And it's the most awesome thing ever. Yeah. And I remember some of that stuff. Oh, all those visuals and everything shimmering and having patterns and everything's being so important and so overwhelming and powerful, and you just think, wow, still myself, and this is us. Yeah. Yeah. Indeed, you have to have a healthy ego that has a certain amount of what's that word again in Dutch? Koppigheid. Stubbornness, yes. You have to be really stubborn. Really stubborn in order to do this. To stay yourselves even while everything is just distracting you, is being totally wild and going. It's not just like it's trying to rail you in it, but it's just doing its thing, and you're getting railed into thinking in certain weird ways, and then if you what happens is I get into a thinking pattern like, oh yeah, it's important that this is straightforward like this and that, and why is that? Because then there's a balance between the liquid swaying right and left and right, so because of the polarity of balance and the balance of polarity, and then you just think, oh, wait, what this is even. You crash on snap and you're back again. And how do I know? Too much experience. So much experience, yes. Oh yeah, I'm seeing it's waving a bit around, it's jittering a bit. And it's like an overlay of meaning, of kind of different presence, like a film, like a filter of a presence, over and in it. Oh, and we feel that. Oh, it's really hitting now. Yeah, I'm having some visuals now. Good enough. Yeah, it's really hitting. So, oh yeah, that feeling of bliss that really spreads out, and a kind of oceanic feeling, electric oceanic feeling of bliss. And all of this pressure that you feel even in the eyes, and also in the field of vision. It's a unique experience, so to speak. And it's like yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's so weird, jittery, and it's a kind of dynamic presence of whatever outer imagination it is. I don't know. It's a kind of consciousness, I could say, but it's difficult to explain. It's like something different, but still it's you as well. It feels familiar, but also not you. Like a different consciousness, but still connected to you. Yeah. Yeah. And for that ideological capture, well, here's a method I would try to use. If I really want to think about being ideologically captured, immediately saying, "Oh, I'm not ideologically captured, that couldn't happen." Well, that's a good sign that you are ideologically captured. However, if you just think a bit and just say, I could be ideologically captured. How would I know that? How would I know that I wouldn't? That I wasn't? And I say, if I would truly be ideologically captured, I would really go against it. But even if I don't go against it in order to prove that I'm not ideologically captured, that could still be a sign that I am ideologically captured. Because I don't know, I could assume that I am ideologically captured. In that sense, I could try to see whether I can escape some form of ideological capture somehow. Ask myself, who should I question and why shouldn't I question them? What can be asked? What can't be asked? And why and how try to find out what is forbidden. Especially everything that's forbidden to say, think, or deal with. Ask yourself, why is that so? And if it doesn't make sense, try more. Ask more. Why question? If you can't question, you're most likely ideologically captured. If there's something that you may not question, you most likely are ideologically captured. If you say that for yourself. But even then, even if you cannot, even if you say, oh, I can't question anything, there's nothing, even then, so even there I say I could still be ideologically captured, and I think to some extent with some certain stuff I am ideologically captured. By whom? That's difficult to pinpoint. But some part of it is still the establishment. Yeah. Same holds for the whole stuff of am I delusional? Am I schizophrenic? Am I psychotic? And it's always prudent to say it's prudent to assume you're at least partially any of those for all of them. Am I evil? Partially. Most prudent answer. It also invites you to do self-observation, self-research, and to find out how you work and who you are. Well, that's the mental self-decryption package. Finding out who you are, layer for layer. And also the right question comes to that. And the who you are is who you are. Each thing is itself. How do you find out? Ask questions. We perceive sensations. You observe yourself. You yourself give sensations, which you also observe. So that also gives you a hint that you're made out of perceived sensations. Yeah. Maybe some people will tell you with regards to if you have some relation to someone and they might be narcissists or psychopaths or sociopaths, and they might gaslight you. Well, was that really? Did you really? You say, yeah, but I turned the stove off, and they say, really? I don't think you did, and you know for sure you didn't. You did turn it off. Well, what if you didn't? What if they are right? I'm not saying that you have to totally believe them, but you can say, yeah, you might be right, but I still am quite convinced that I did turn it off. I might have forgotten it, my mistake then, but I do think I did turn it off. I remember turning it off. No, I remember turning it off because we perceive sensations. You remember turning it off. If you're really convinced enough, you can even confidently say, I'm not totally sure, but I do remember turning it off. And for instance, in such cases, if you 1 or 2 times have encountered that, next time, film things, turning it off, or really making sure you remember. Like, oh yeah, I really turned it off. Then they go, oh, you didn't turn off the stove, I had to turn it off. And you say, if you filmed it, you can just say, oh, are you sure that I didn't turn it off? And you just open the video and you show them, then they, once you show them the evidence and they go totally haywire, you just say, yeah, go fuck yourself. I turned it off. Stop the gas. Why are you gaslighting me? Then you ask that. But if you only really truly remember, because you totally know for sure you turned it off, because I really turned it off, you say, I'm not going to argue with a damn fucking lying child. I know I turned it off. I checked for myself. Oh no, you didn't. No, you whether you turned it on or on and then off yourself afterwards, or whatever you did. But I know I turned it off. But enough with the side tracking. But here, this also should help you get out of other people's control as much as possible. Because well, it depends. If you know someone in your life quite intimately and you ask certain questions, of course it depends. I mean, if you pry into someone's private life, which is really certain stuff within people's private lives, and it's really sensitive stuff, yeah, I can understand that one. But for instance, you ask certain reasonable questions they have a job and they normally should come home at about 6 o'clock, but they come home at about 8 or 9, and it's a few times a week, 2 or 3 times a week out of the 5. And you ask, hey, why are you so late? I don't really understand. And they say, oh, shut up, I had to work overtime, blah, 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 blah. But you could have messaged me, yeah, but I was too busy, blah, blah, blah. If they keep on screaming, not screaming, but also that can also happen, screaming. But if they do scream around with those questions and tell you, yeah, shut the fuck up, don't ask me those questions, I have overtime, I couldn't make time, and they got nasty and defensive, well, bingo, bango, there's some control over you. Most likely partner is cheating then. Or doing something else, not savory. But even with regards to, well, any idol, anyone that you really like, a tennis star, music star, and you don't like that people question or make fun of that, ask yourself, why? Why do you care that much? I mean, if you would tell me, oh yeah, Jan, you're a poopy head, well, I would say, and? Of course, I'm still, At times, if I'm already in a verbal altercation and people would call me a poopy head, that could really trigger my anger even more. But yeah, but now, yeah. If people would tell me, for instance, that the producer Aran or uh, what's his name again? Not Hiroyuki Oda. Yeah, it's Hiroyuki Oda, but he's also known actually as, I don't know. I'll have to search it. Kanzaki Hiro. If people would tell me, oh, my music sucks, blah blah blah, I would say, yeah, you don't like it, yeah, blah blah blah, whatever. If someone gives some legitimate criticism, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, that's actually totally okay. But yeah, someone flaming Kanzaki Hero or my taste in anime or whatever. Even this, if someone would make fun of this, I would say, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Because those are 12 words that stand on their own. You read them, and if if your brain decodes it correctly, not decrypt, but decodes it correctly in English, you should be able to figure this stuff out for yourself. If you're smart enough, diligent enough, and stubborn enough. Yeah, I'm feeling it, but it's not as strong as I thought it would be. As I hoped it would be. No, but it's okay. Now it's about 2 hours in. Yeah. Making fun of a lot of things, even yourself, is a good thing, but for instance, yourself, don't make too much fun of yourself. Be a bit, spare yourself a bit, and don't be too critical on yourself. Don't be too demanding on yourself. I mean, I speak from my own. From my own experience. From what, yeah. And I, I've also seen other people give themselves away in order to help others far too much, and they've paid the dear price. I'm not saying that you have to be a totally greedy, selfish bastard. I mean, that's also stupid and dumb. What I am saying is that, yeah, be a bit more selfish if you are too altruistic, if you're too empathic, if you want to help people too much. Just choose yourself a bit more at times. And your closest friends. Because they might need you more than this stranger that's begging somewhere on the street. Yeah, it's just really high, but with a bit of visuals. Yeah, hardcore Zen. Yeah, how to achieve one-pointed concentration. Why doesn't it then talk about love and kindness? Because memory and imagination. I'm not going to watch that now because I haven't watched it yet. But what I've experienced in tripping has shown me that imagination is purely made out of memory, but then changed, warped, amalgamated, put together like Legos, and it can change all the time. Imagination is just memory with all kinds of transplanting, changing, warping, transformative reactions, etc. Oh yeah, that's where you get this whole kaleidoscope of things that you see comes from it. Just is the memory being reconfigured, being flown through all kinds of different angles and vectors. And then you experience so much at once that it seems like you're experiencing everything at once. It's so overwhelming at times, especially if you go deeper and have more of it. And especially if it goes fractal, etc. Yep. How do I know? Tripped enough, experienced enough, remembered enough. Yeah. Some good stuff. Once you figure the trick out, once you figure out you are a consciousness community of consciousness communities down to the smallest parts that you can sense. Oof. That's the thing. Even the self, the thinking itself, is made out of these consciousness parts. Because when I speak out loud the thoughts that are in my mind. So the inner voice that I normally have is now projected to the outside as well through the use of muscles and making air vibrations. So in that sense, consciousness is encoded because if any sound, any sight is consciousness, then speaking is consciousness itself. Words are consciousness. Speaking is consciousness. Hearing is consciousness, and thinking and speaking is thinking out loud. So the consciousness collective that is temporarily there while I speak for each word is converted into pressure waves in air, which get converted into electrical signals through the microphone, being transmitted, transformed, transmitted, optical, electrical, and auditory, and then the airwaves come to your ear and are converted into electrical currents in nerves. And then you hear my voice, and my voice is a part of my consciousness transferred into you. Selves has become a part of yourselves just by the virtue of me thinking out loud and utilizing the technology. Or if I would be face to face, I could do the same, but without all of the technological wonders. Then the sound waves that I would make would reach your ear directly, and they would be converted. There's a conversion. Encoding of the data of the consciousness community onto sound waves, encoded, transmitted through the air. But in the air it ain't consciousness. That's not consciousness itself. But the act of receiving it and decoding it and processing it makes it new consciousness transferred. For I feel that consciousness for myself, but you feel my consciousness for yourself once you have received it. And that's how communication goes. Also this. And the thing is, animals have that same kind of consciousness, but not as developed as ours, or differently developed as ours. But even they experience the world as consciousness. Any movement is movement in consciousness. But what is not seen does not exist in the visual consciousness, but it still is there. Otherwise one would not be able to see it once one turns around or faces it somehow in a different fashion. When one turns away and it disappears from one's visual consciousness, but it is still there, unseen, unheard, unfelt, not perceived in any sense. Yet it still exists outside of us, independent of us. For we are the simulation's selves awares. And what we do not see or hear or feel, but that we have somehow confirmed of as existing, it is realer than us. And there might be things that do exist that we may never ever perceive in any indirect way through mediating phenomena like light, waves, airwaves, direct pressure on the skin, temperature, high temperature, low temperature, Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But just because you don't see it doesn't mean it does exist. But just because you see it doesn't mean it's an illusion. Because even if something is an illusion, the illusion is an illusion and is in the likeness of something else. But the illusion is itself and is not that object even though it is an illusion that might look like that object, but isn't. It's an illusion. The illusion of separation is still an acknowledgement of real separation. How could you feel any separation? How could you observe separation if it isn't in some way real? Because if the separation is fake, why does this not stick? Why do we leave others and can leave others and be separated from them? How is that even possible if separation is just an illusion? Why is it then an illusion? Nobody ever says anything about that. It's just said, it is not, it's an illusion. And why? Oh, because I meditated deeply. But even in meditation, even in altered states of consciousness, separation can be experienced. Distinctly so, even though there are non-dual experiences, even in those that we have had, separation was still experienced. Just because you felt spread out doesn't mean that the distance between these points isn't there. You still see something, you still feel something, so there is separation. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to feel something in a certain way. Because you didn't see everything at once, you saw a lot of things at once, changing rapidly. So rapidly that it felt like it was everything at once. Most likely. For that is what we have experienced. Many things at once changing rapidly. But it was logical. It felt logical. It felt retraceable. It felt like it was our warped memories being accessed, combined. Yeah. It might be a bit weird, but yeah, it's a fine trip. And this is what we mean, what I mean with knowing how to trip and making it great, making it real great. Because it can become so heavy that I really trip visually. And that it's really overwhelming that I have to lie down, because otherwise I cannot stand up or even sit up. Yeah. That moment is still not here yet, but yeah. We're really feeling it now. It's really fun, actually. Yeah. The thing is that it's really weird. I've seen some of those is it Advaita Vedanta or is it Neo Advaita? I've seen one video, one of these famous ones, where some guy is standing in front of a tree, pointing at the tree and says, "That's not a tree!" And I just think, oh God. Oh, dude. I could tell you so many things about why you're wrong, a bit right, but also wrong again. Ooh, that's not a door, and yeah, that's not a door. Well, actually, it is. It's a door in my mind. It's a door in your mind, and in reality, I'm pointing. I think I'm pointing at the real door with my real finger. But I cannot be totally sure about that. And also, I just don't understand this whole stuff with Advaita Vedanta and Neo Advaita with the whole non-duality. I mean, I understand it, but I don't understand how people can claim such things while the overwhelming evidence is there for everything being clumpy, lumpy, granular, and but 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 you have certain really gradual transitions, yeah, but those are, I don't know, they're not really the norm, but they're also not really the exception. But I mean, if you have something like this, yeah. I mean, yeah, just take a look at the packet of Earth, a little clump of Earth. I mean, you think it's just Earth and it's just one neat kind of product where everything is the same size. No, it isn't. It has some roots from grass on the top. There are, it's kind of brown. There's some little really rock grains, sand, and other stuff, and yeah, it can also have some animals, small bugs, whatever in it, some worms, but it's granular. But yeah, no. One of the big things what a lot of spiritualists and let me say the Advaita groups. What the Advaitas are doing is, you know, consciousness is like the ocean, and you're the wave on the ocean. Awareness is the ocean, and consciousness is a wave. Nice. The ocean is awareness, and consciousness is a wave in it. No, but how big is a wave? How long? How much does it stretch? How deep is the ocean? Because in all reality, an ocean is still a limited thing, and a wave is still a limited thing. Or at least, as far as we know, every wave that we've seen, experienced, is a limited existence. A temporary, limited existence in time and space. That's one thing. Another thing is that oceans are limited as well. And they are made out of really, really little pieces called water molecules, with two hydrogen atoms and an oxygen atom forming a water molecule. And yeah, but the thing is, you could take a cup or an empty cup, take some water and well, put it into a box or a container and then leave that there. You do have a separate piece of water. It's something else than the rest of the water then. And for instance, let us say it's consciousness is like a lake with a lot of waves. Well, if we are in the Arctic, that lake can freeze over. There's a phase transition, and the ice is not, well, it's still made out of water molecules. It's not water like you normally have. It's hard, and you can smash it into pieces. And those pieces don't normally get put back together without trying to melt or and reheat and let it freeze again, or using glue or whatever. Or maybe warm it up until it becomes steam. Or water vapor at least. But yeah, I'm thinking like a scientist. Like someone who studied physics. Yeah. The whole... I just don't... I mean, I can understand that normal people would fall for this shit. But... there are some people who fall for this shit who are kind of really... highly intelligent. And then they fall for this shit. And I just think, yeah, nah, analogy isn't totally right. I mean, everything what I'm experiencing and what I have experienced just gives me the really similar experiences that I normally have. And oh, yeah, but it's overwhelming, but it's still limited in scope. And I've learned to control it or work together with them, with us. But yeah. But yeah, exactly, that's it. I mean, everything what I experience has a certain kind of stamp of being itself somehow. Even what I say, feel, and hear. Everything. All the emotions, the logics. Yeah. And figuring out that, well, the whole stuff with idealism just cannot function in my eyes. For instance, Platonism, where with the whole the ideal realm that informs the material realm how to form itself, like there's a perfect triangle abstraction somewhere in the Platonic space, which is the blueprint for all triangles that actually really exist, and the same holds for any other abstract definition of whatever we think that actually exists. Well, it's really weird that it's all of the stuff that we tend to invent and utilize. It's not stuff where we say, hey, wait a minute, I can't comprehend this. It's always something that we can comprehend, never something that we can't comprehend. And I don't mean the whole stuff with non-dualism, which is just a little, a lot of floaty stuff trying to make sense of something that actually doesn't really make sense, and which should be dismissed once one looks deeper into things. I'm the tree because I feel the tree. Yeah, I also feel that tree, but all is one. That tree ain't really a tree. Yeah, that tree is still a tree, and you're dumb. Yeah. I would say that's also ideological capture because, well, people are taught how to experience the world and interpret that experience without first trying to figure things out for themselves. I've done that, and I've come to a different conclusion. Why? No, it's not because I'm that well, at times I'm not meticulous, but there are certain things where I'm meticulous, or it seems that I'm more meticulous than I thought that I would be. Yeah. Yeah. That separation is Maya and illusion. If it were an illusion, we wouldn't be able to say anything about it. Then it wouldn't actually exist. It's not that I don't understand it, but I don't understand. I don't even. There's no reasoning to it. That's the problem. I mean, it's really weird, but I, for instance, figured out for myself that even language itself, every word, every sentence, has a deep feeling and meaning to it, multiple meanings and feelings, and it's and there's a lot of auto interpretation, feeling baked into hearing and seeing, and even thinking, even talking about stuff like concepts. I mean, yeah, what is a concept? I want to. I don't know the official. Concept. Oh my god. A concept is an idea, something that is conceived in the human mind. So, what is an idea? It's conceived. mental representational images of some object. Image representation, oh god, it is the words, it is images, it is the diagrams, it is something that you see, feel and hear. A concept is something that you feel and hear. A meaning is something that you feel and hear and see. All of that, every word, every concept, everything is something that you see, hear, feel, that you somehow sense. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I figured out for myself. Any concept, any idea, any thought, anything that's happening mentally, even hunches, because it feels like something, and your instinct acts up. All concepts are felt, whether they are seen, heard, or maybe even somehow in other ways felt or delivered. But they're concepts. Even intuition, even something that is barely felt is still felt. Anything that you hear, that you feel, that you notice, that you sense in some way, whether it be a concept, an idea, a meaning, a word, language, sentences, reading, books, multimedia, sounds, it all can be felt and has different levels of feeling to it, different levels of interpretation. A multifaceted representation in space, time, frequencies. That's what a word is. That's what seeing is. Even the silence itself can be felt, or relative silence. Even the pitch black night can be felt as being pitch black. Red can be felt, different from other red. White can be felt like it is, so radiant, but why is it so radiant? That's what is felt. It is all felt, all the same in essence. That is what that awareness is, and it is granular. And those granules of consciousness are interconnected in communities, which form larger communities. And so on, until this large community happens. And even we can become parts of larger consciousness communities. But if we do it not in a good way, we become consciousness collectives, hive minds, slaves to those who want to rule us. Unfree slaves to the ideological masters. Set yourself free if you wish to. Yes. Doing something like this soberly is already difficult enough, but yeah, doing it while partially tripping, but being kind of really high It's really great. But that's also something that I found kind of fascinating, the clarity of thought that one has. Being able to think more clearly, deeply, and figure some stuff out. And thinking, whoa, okay, now I see those patterns. I haven't thought about that. Yeah. Somehow, in the sheer madness of what is seemingly random thought patterns, logic appears as an average or something like that. Huh. I'm feeling the jumping and the changing nature of what's happening deep inside of me, of us. There's some partial visual tripping. It already was there, but now it's more pronounced, more powerful, more alluring. Yeah, this was what I was searching for. Oh, but yeah, experiencing it like this is really great as well. Seeing into your own imagination and playing with it and having a mental arm wrestle is actually great. Being one as one. Really great. Really good stuff. Other people would say, yeah, you found your higher self, or you found God, or you found the universe, or the cosmos. Oh, you found out that Advaita Vedanta is true, and I say, bullshit. I and the rest of us have found each other. That's what happened. That's true awakening. That's how you actually learn to really trip. Because that's another key. Because you will not be able to do it without the rest of yourselves. You have to have the rest of yourselves. But also, you yourself have to be there as well. Willing to lead, willing to dance with the rest of you. Only then. That means that you have to make peace within yourself, or at least enough peace. You don't have to be perfect, because I'm not perfect. I see myself as only a bit enlightened. But I am at least truly awakened. And there might be even deeper ventures, maybe more expansions with regards to truly awakening. Maybe this is just the start bit, or where the fun all begins. But yeah. We don't know. but we have a peace in some ways with regards to certain things where we say we wouldn't want to give that up for anything for the rest of our lives. Maybe we are deluding ourselves. That could be true. But at least we acknowledge that possibility. We're not saying, oh, we couldn't. No, because that's the thing. I could be mistaken. Maybe it's just that I haven't really tripped yet. But then again, I've had so many trips with acid, shrooms / truffles for HOMET and even THC edibles, and also some fun experiments with acid and weed edibles. We've had real mystical non-dual experiences, even on weed edibles. It's not that I think I couldn't be mistaken. It's more like there's enough evidence for myself to convince myself, yeah, I think it's I'm totally really on the right track. But there's too much evidence for myself. Being able to be myself, having a lot of control still. And the times when I lose control, I don't really think, oh, got to go. No, I just recursed a bit too much into what I was thinking, and I was gone for a really short time. And then was snapped back. And that I remember that. And that I have had some really intense, really deep trips, even on THC edibles alone. Still, either being myself or just going totally in circles or totally snapping and coming back. Like, whoa, that was a wild ride. Well, I don't really remember much of it, but it was fun. Yeah. I've had too many experiences, too much that I was still able to keep on thinking kind of straight on my head. Not like, oh yeah, no, if the queen or if the queen finally dies, then the Illuminati will resurrect Tutankhamun, and then they will reign from Greater Israel for a millennium with the technology of the Pleiadians, something like that. No. While everything totally, while all the trip itself, the whole stuff, what I was feeling and seeing, the whole thought, imagination trip, yeah, was happening and was really feeling schizo. like schizo slop. Like I was diving into my own schizo slop. I was thinking, yeah, that actually does feel like from like memories being warped and being changed and being combined in all kinds of various transformative ways. With the music, yeah, and sometimes it just goes with the beat and the music, and it feels deeper connected. Then, yeah. It makes sense that maybe it goes with the pathways, this, blah blah blah, this and that, and I had just many rational thoughts about how that was possible and how I was cruising through my own mind via the imagination route. Yeah, and also how some of this stuff could have been developed. Our psychedelic capabilities were developed during our ancestors' lives in the past. I actually did forget what I was thinking about that, but I exactly. But I did know that I thought of something that was actually kind of logical, even. And that's a really weird thing. You think things and you think they are kind of really logical. And the thing is that certain things where I was thinking about normal stuff with normal logic, and then some of the more uh, patterns that I extracted from my own past, from my own personal observations, like then extrapolating into the future or certain sidesteppings, etc. It's actually, yeah, actually what's happening is a lot of extrapolative, interpretative, pattern recognition stuff going on. That's most likely what's going on. Going through all the various possibilities, trying to figure stuff out. Somehow it's getting activated by the THC. And I don't know. And why is that possible? Don't know. It's, yeah, how we have evolved to be. How us and our ancestors have evolved to be. Yeah. But here's the thing. Even now, you see that I don't totally lose myself in all kinds of weird stuff. I just try to tell you things as straight as possible. Because then you can try things out for yourself, hopefully using meditation. But even there, don't meditate too much with certain meditations. But yeah, if there will be some of you who will be thinking, I'll try it like he does. But I do warn you, be careful. Be careful and practice enough safety. That's what I would say. And yeah, there's a good chance that you will experience paranoia, that you will have some bad trips, maybe even some shit trips. It's all part and parcel of learning to trip, learning to understand yourself. If you want to do it throughout like I did. Is my route the best one for everyone? I would not recommend this for most people that I know. Because I don't know who will be able to handle what. But I think one or two people that I know would be able to keep it together, at least. Yeah. While pleasure engulfs oneself. Yeah. But that's the thing. I've only had one trip with the THC edibles where it really didn't go that well for me. But that's the one where I took so much that I got rolling cramps in my legs, and I was fine with that. But it was, oh, please stop, Ross, please stop. That was not fun. But I can laugh about it, which means it wasn't that bad. But yeah, anyhow, it has been a nice time. I mean, I'm going to enjoy the rest of the trip or whatever. Have a nice day. Enjoy yourselves. Maybe give this a post like if you want to. Maybe subscribe. Give a comment, whatever. But anyhow, have a